A-aron is out. We have all of the week one wrap-ups for you from the Redraft and the Dynasty League, and we will reveal the power rankings for both. All of this and more in 20 seconds. Hey, fellow fanatics, welcome to the Fanatically Real broadcast, sponsored by Nature Coast Tailgating and Apparel, the official apparel of the FSA. I saw we had 5 people. Now we're down to 4 out there. If you are out there, make sure you say hello, and we'll get you up on the screen tonight. Got a lot of new bells and whistles coming at you for the night. Very first one is this one. Might look familiar from last year, but we are using a different program to push it tonight and this year, so you might see a few little glitches in it. If you do, please try to overlook them tonight, but let us know that you saw them. That way we can make it better for next week. Jamie out there saying hello, and Jason out there saying hello as well. Hey to both of you. Ferg is with us as well. Hello, good evening to all of you tonight. Jenna on with us too. Hey Jenna, how are you? All right, so first show of the season, after we had some games play, so our wrap-up show, week 1, Bill says first on the waiver wire. Awesome. So bear with me as we go through this, and we try to make this work for us in 2023. So you heard at the top of the show, NFL news, Aaron Rodgers is done for the season after he ruptured his Achilles tendon. So not only do we have that as fantasy implications, as a Jets fan, that hurts the heart a whole lot as well. From fantasy implications, it looks like those of us who had Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback, which I did, we were able to grab Zach Wilson on the waiver wire today. And hopefully that will help us through the rest of the season. We know Zach Wilson is definitely not Aaron Rodgers, but maybe we'll get something out of the guy. They still put together a pretty decent team, maybe the better team around, but Wilson will help him out this year. A couple other pieces of NFL news. LA Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp's been placed on the IR. He'll be eligible to return week 5. And then the Ravens officially placed running back J.K. Dobbins on the injury reserve yesterday after he tore his Achilles in week 1 win against the Texans. Ravens are going to move forward with some kind of combination of Gus Edwards and Justice Hill. Saw a lot of those guys being picked up on the waiver wire this week whenever it ran for us. And also, don't forget, Melvin Gordon is on the practice squad of that team as well. It's a possibility that he could be elevated. So let's talk about the APFL games of the week. And this is where it's going to get a little crazy here with the new screen. So bear with me here as we shrink down and we go to this screen right here. So we're going to talk about the margin of victory game of the week in the APFL. And that was the New Orleans Angels versus the Tampa Bay Pirates. That final score there was 76-74. With the decimal points added on, final score actually ended up being margin of victory of 2.22 points in favor of the Angels. And that is our margin of victory game of the week in the APFL. Staying in the NFC South, we have the Carolina Power Claws over the Atlanta Dirty Birds. Final score there, 87-64. Going to move up to the NFC North now, where we had a great rivalry game between Green Bay and Chicago. Cheeseheads getting the win over the Monsters there, 83-69. And then staying there in the North, we've got new general manager for Minnesota, gets his first win in the APFL with a win over the Detroit Pride. Final score there, 87-64. And just like it was in the NFL with Dallas putting the hurts on the Giants, in our case, the Desperados putting the hurt on the Mammoths, Final score there, 92-60. And then finishing up the East, we ended up having the Harpies beat the Hogs 88-53. Last year's defending champ finally gets his first win over the LA Bighorns after going 0-2 against them last year. Chris gets the win 109-59. And then finishing up the NFC, we had the Redbirds beating the Miners 85-54. Jenna says that was frustrating, but I couldn't comment. Doing great, traveling a lot. Go Raiders. Go Raiders. We are going to now shift to the AFC. And in the most points scored in the entire league this week goes to the Cleveland Dogs as they beat the Cincinnati Cats 125-63. We're going to stay right up there in the AFC North. Pittsburgh had a better showing in the APFL than they did in the NFL this week, putting up 105 points over the Blackbirds, who put up 68. In the AFC South, had another new general manager get a win this week with the Wildcats beating the Stallions 88-58. And then staying inside the South, Tennessee falls in a close matchup to the Houston Toros. Houston Toros get that win 88-84. Moving over to the AFC East, the Mafia dealt a devastating blow to the Wings with a final score of 91-52. And rounding out the trio of new general managers, Matt Brown, the general manager of the Miami Barracudas, ends up getting the win over the New England Rebels. Final score there was 73-59. That means all three of our new general managers end up getting wins in week one of competition. And then moving over to the AFC West, Mustangs defeat the Marauders 88-72, and the LA Warhorse knocked off the Arrowheads 63-51. MJ being the general manager of the LA Warhorse. MJ, we hope you are feeling better. Let us know over on Discord as soon as you can. All right, so we are now going to switch over to the redraft games of the week. Don't really have any cool graphics for it as we're still working on some team logos, and I'm still working on what that's going to look like from a redraft standpoint this year. And with all of the new bells and whistles that I have in this program, trying to decide if it's best to do something as a PowerPoint presentation and show it to you all, or build graphics and put them on here. I don't know yet. So you're just going to hear my talking head as we go through these games of the week by each one of the regions. Jamie asked, are these basketball scores? They are actually pretty high, but you should see the scores coming out of the redraft instead, because there's some big numbers there. We're going to talk about those right now. So we're going to talk about the margin of victory game in the Banshees region, and we're going to talk about it in the largest margin of victory in that region, where Jamie was able to knock off the Chaos 187-130, so a 57-point win there. In the Black Dragons region, we had the smallest margin of victory game in that region, with the Rum Runners winning 117.7 to 116.4, just a 1.3-point victory. And the Rum Runners had negative points out of Daniel Jones and still got the win. Over in the Gold Dragons, we had another close game there where we had buddies Eric Penny and Eric Slatkin played against each other. Penny and the Warbirds get the win. Final score there was 142 to 140.1, a difference of 1.9 points. In the Hydras region, and we don't get to say this very often, so we're going to say it at least this week, on behalf of Jason and the Dayton Cavalry, put up the most points in all of the redraft league this week with a win over the Music City Miracles. Final score there, 204 to 140. So congratulations to Jason on that big win. I love it. Hashtag bombs away. Love it, Eric. You got to use that all year for us. Love that. Over in the Scorpions region, we had a 0.5-point victory there in our margin of victory game. The Coolidge Scorpions beating the Panthers. Final score there was 123.4 to 122.9, 0.5-point victory. And then over in the Lynx, the final region in the redraft, even though Laura says she doesn't know if she's going to be able to change her lineup for the rest of the season because she's still trying to learn the MFL platform, she might be okay if her team continues to score like they did this week. And she had the largest margin of victory win inside the region with a 157 to 121 win over Wotan. And I hope I'm saying that right. I don't know if it's Wotan or Wotan. Absurd. Yeah, crazy points. What Jason say here? Jason says, yeah, don't hear those words combination coming out of my mouth very often. Very true. Let's hope that we get to hear a lot about the Dayton Cavalry this year. It would be nice. So let's talk about the power rankings. So we just finished with the redraft. So what we're going to do is stick there. And we're going to talk about the standings first from each one of the regions. As you can see them here in the Banshees region, you got your top 6 teams who all got wins this week, all playing in inter-region games this week. You can see the bottom 6 who did not get wins this week. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, those are also in order of points for the week as well. So Jamie getting the most points this week in the Banshees region. Over in the Black Dragons region, the Nature Coast Colonials scoring the most in the Black Dragons region. Gold Dragons region, Naughty Dogs scoring the most. Southern Sirens scoring the least. And then we already mentioned the Dayton Cavalry scoring the most points in all of the redraft this week. So he's at the top of the leaderboard here in the regional standings. Moving down to the Southwest Scorpions. Again, last year that the Southwest Scorpions will be the regional mascot, as we will be switching that over to the Southwest Chupacabras for the 2024 season. Boss Hogs standing at the top of the leaderboard there. And in the Lynx region, we just mentioned Laura having a great first week of the season with her 157 points. She sits at the top of the leaderboard right now. So wanted to show off what the power rankings look like in the redraft. New graphic for us this year. It's the top 25. Hopefully you'll be able to see this okay, especially if you're on a bigger screen that I'm dealing with right now. Explain what this is going to be each one of the weeks. That thin line over on the left-hand side is going to show the AI created logo for the region for the team that is sitting in the number 1 spot, which again is the Dayton Cavalry after putting up the points that they did this week. And you can see the top 25 there. Might be asking yourself, what do the different colors behind each one of the teams mean? Trying to get the colors to match a color in the regional logo so you can tell which regions these teams are coming from in this top 25. So we want to talk about the Hydras region with Jason being number 1. You also got the Creek Dogs at number 9. You got Turd Ferguson at 12. You got the Bearcats at 18. You can see all the teams that are there in the purple. That's your Black Dragons region. Teams in the gold are your Gold Dragons region. The ones that are there in that burnt orange looking color are your Lynx players. The one that are in the red are your Southwest Scorpions. And I feel like I'm missing one in there somewhere. I got the Scorpions. I got the Lynx. The Banshees are in that kind of dull green color there where you see Jamie's name, James's name, and Mike's name there in those 3 spots. So that is what that will look like each week as we do the power rankings. The power rankings are going to be based on your all play percentage times your number of wins. That's how we're going to get the power rankings this year. Super simple. But in this first week of the season, we count as if everybody already has a win because there are some teams that took losses that also put up good numbers. So just because they took the loss doesn't mean that their team's still not good. Put up good numbers and take the loss. So everybody in week 1 will be ×1, and then we move on to week 2. Even those teams that don't have a win yet will still be at the ×1 mark, but those that have 2 wins will be at ×2. So you'll see these power rankings fluctuate quite a bit. Good to see you too, Jenna. Appreciate you. Thanks for coming on. We'll see you soon. Jason says I probably won't be there next week. Well, we'll see, man. Really, really shocked and happy that you had such a good first week, not gonna lie. So can't forget the power rankings for the APFL, doing the exact same thing with the APFL as we are doing for the redraft. It's going to be your all play record times the number of wins. We only do the top 10 in the power rankings for the APFL because there's only 32 teams there. Cleveland Dogs putting up the most points this week. As you can see, they're number 1. Last year, defending champions, Seattle Raptors at number 2. And then as you go down the line there, we ended up the Jacksonville Wildcats with a new general manager at 7, and the Minnesota Norsemen with a new general manager sitting at 10. That wraps up the top 10 in the power rankings in the APFL after week 1. Dogs lead that by 0.032 points right now. And hopefully you all like that graphic because I did that one all on my own. So hopefully that one turned out well for everybody and you guys like it. Let's talk about fantasy previews for week 2. I don't have a lot for the preview side of the house for the redraft. Again, trying to figure out what that's going to look like each one of the weeks as we're moving forward. MFL is starting to finally figure out who the game of the week is going to be across all 72 teams. I didn't agree with it this week, so I need to do a better job of looking across the entire landscape to find out what those games are going to be. Starting next week, we will make sure that we put one from every single one of the regions out there for the game of the week. But what we do have is the schedule for the APFL for week 2 on both the AFC side and the NFC side. We're going to stay inside our division play. So as you can see, Baltimore against Cincinnati, Cleveland against Pittsburgh. That stays the same on all of them on the AFC side, and then it stays the same for all of the NFC side. As you can see, San Francisco playing the LA Bighorns, Seattle going for 2 straight against the Arizona Redbirds. That is your schedule for the upcoming week. So let's get into these prime time results from this past weekend. From a standpoint, my standpoint, Gerard excited about being number 7, being the new general manager with the Jacksonville Wildcats this year. Division wins are very critical. I already feel like with a big loss that I took to Buffalo this week that I'm really hurting for the year. But who would have thought that I'd have taken a 0 out of Dallas Goedert as well? It is what it is. Hopefully I'll bounce back in week 2. But we'll see. All we can do is keep fingers crossed. So from a personal standpoint, from the primetime results this past week, I went 1-2. I got the Dallas game over the Giants correct, but I missed the Kansas City game, Detroit getting that win. And then, of course, I missed Buffalo over the Jets, with Jets getting that overtime win, which was awesome, even though they lost Aaron Rodgers. So let's talk about this week's primetime games. And we have 4 of them in case you weren't tracking. So first game is Thursday night. Got the get up on. It's Eagles against the Vikings. As of noon, when I was putting the script together today, the point spread was Eagles being favored by 6.5. I am so glad that this happened on week 2 and that the Eagles are playing, because I had 2 what I consider pretty ugly Philadelphia Eagles hats because they were both black and looked almost identical. When I got done with my doctor's checkup in Charleston last week sometime, I decided to do a little bit of shopping. They had a Tanger outlet mall that was there that usually does not have a lids in them. They actually had two lids. They had a lids U and a regular lids. And I happened to see this Eagle one sitting there. And I was like, man, I've been trying to find a good Eagles hat in green. Grabbed it, able to use it already this early in the season. I'm picking the Eagles over the Vikings. Then Sunday night football, we got Miami and New England. Miami favored by 2.5. I'm taking Miami in that game. And then we have two Monday night football games this week. First one starts at 7:15. That is going to be New Orleans and Carolina. Saints right now favored by 3. I'm taking New Orleans. And then in the second game, which starts at 8:15, we have Cleveland at Pittsburgh. But check this out. Cleveland favored by 2.5. But I don't care. I'm still taking Pittsburgh in a win on that one. That will be my upset pick of the week. And let's hope that it holds up. Let's talk about NFL. Well, that was pretty much all of the NFL week 2. We got the primetime results from last week and how we did 1 and 2, and there's our week 2 and our schedule. What we'll use that week 2 or future week, the next week's setup for will be what does our primetime games look like, and then as we start getting into the bye weeks, and then when we start getting into games that are played overseas, we'll make sure that we announce during this little tiny segment right here what those games are. Next broadcast, we will be right back on Wednesday next week, the 20th of September, for a week 2 wrap-up show. Would love your all's input on what we can do better next week for the redraft side of the house. The reason that the APFL was able to have such great graphics this very first week is I was able to do all of that work in the off season using Box Out. It's a sports graphics program that I got introduced to while I was working at USC Aiken for my internship. So was able to put all of those together. Did not have all of the logos and everything at my ready to be able to do that on the redraft side. So I'm open to all suggestions of what we can do for the redraft next week. Just let me know. That's it. Hopefully the jumping around wasn't too much. Hopefully it was okay. I think I actually handled a little bit better than I thought I was going to because the stuff laid in better than I thought it was going to. Want to thank all of the sponsors, Mondo and the Boys of the Recast, the official music of FSA, and then, of course, Brandon Valinka of Nature Coast Tailgating and Apparel, the official apparel of the FSA. Thank you for watching the show tonight. I think we're going to finish this up right under 25 minutes. So good show. Make it a little bit longer next week as we put a little bit more effort into the redraft league. If you're not already following us or subscribe to all of our social media stuff, go out there and find us at iPlayFSA. Last bit of news. I can't go off the air without mentioning this again. For those that are in the Great Lakes region, that want to come on Saturday for Dad's viewing and funeral. It will be Saturday at 10 a.m. to noon. Immediately following the viewing, we will go to the cemetery, and immediately following that, thank you to Jason and his wife, Michelle, for putting together this great, taking a lot of pressure off of me and the family of being able to put this catered event or food event for us right after all of that at his church in Xenia called A-Hop. Eric, peace and love and fantasy and all that to you as well. I'm hoping that's a hot pepper. I'm not exactly sure what that is. Let me know what that is. But yeah, go out and follow us on all of our social media outlets at iPlayFSA. Don't forget to set your lineups this week. I held everybody's hand in week 1. I'm not going to do it for week 2. We already found out that if you want to wait until Sunday because you have no players playing on Thursday, that even though MFL gives you an F for final score, that you can still get your lineups in. But if you have any problem, especially you, Laura, if you have any problems, hit me up and I'll set the lineups for you. Know that I'm going to be out of town. We are traveling to Ohio Friday all day. So 600 miles, 12-hour drive. everything going on Saturday, and then it's a churn and burn. We will be traveling back on Sunday to get ready for everybody to go back to school on Monday. Jason says we have chicken and sandwiches, potatoes, baked beans, all types. Man, I really appreciate you. I told Mom about it today as well. I think you're going to get a big hug and kiss from her. When is the latest to submit? Latest to submit is 1 minute before your player's game time. I wouldn't wait until the last second because we have known the MFL clock to be a little bit wonky wherever that server actually sits at. So just make sure that you get yours in time before your player starts. If you don't have any players playing on Thursday, you can wait till Sunday to get your lineup in, but don't wait until 12:59 because you might not be able to get your lineup in there. Give yourself at least a 5-minute cushion. That's always a good rule of thumb. That's it. Hopefully I will see you some on Saturday. Even for a somber event, it will be nice to see you all. Set your lineups, and then remember, we are Fanatically Real. We will see you all next week, and some of you I will see on Saturday. You all have a great evening. Hit me up on Discord with whatever you got. We will see you next week.